I am just back from a 5-week trip in Italy, and we had a wonderful time. And I just wanted today to share my art haul with you. I got some fun art supplies. I had planned to try to pick up some, but my space was very limited, only having a small carry-on for a 5-week trip. But over the course of the 5 weeks, I just kept picking up a little more and tucking those in somewhere. And so this is what I ended up with by the time I came home, except for there's even more of these, and I'll talk about that in a minute. So I tried to mainly for like an art souvenir to get things that were made in Italy, but I did make some exceptions along the way, and so I'll pull those out maybe first. First is this little glue stick I picked up in the Heathrow airport. We had a bit of a layover there, and I just thought it was cute and would be fun and handy to use. So I got that. When we were in Rome, we went to a grocery store, and I was just really enamored by the huge selection of Staedtler products, which are made in Germany, but and I can get those here in the US, but there just was a little bit different variety, and they were like very inexpensive, and so I just picked up a couple ballpoint pens, and they really have this like super long point. I don't know if you can see that, which was interesting. So I got a red and a black, and then just a couple of 2B pencils. I thought it was interesting that you could, like, it was just like in the grocery store or in the kids' school supplies, and it had every different hardness of pencil, which I just thought was really interesting, and just the art supplies that are available in the stationery section of the grocery store. So that was fun. And then another thing, this Pentel pen. Every time you turned around, there was a little stationery shop or art shop of some sort, which I live in a state that has very few art stores, none close to me, so it was a very fun novelty to just have so many fun art supplies. But this was just in a little shop, and it was a Pentel multicolor pen. I just thought it looked nice. Anyway, so I picked that up, just a little useful thing. And then I also got a few Neocolors, just because I felt the need for these colors while I was travel journaling. I had brought this whole little selection, which you would think would be enough, but once there was some like building colors and things that I felt like I needed, would benefit from having these colors as well. So I picked up a few of those. Also, I tended towards getting small things because you can tuck those in, anywhere in your luggage. So I did pick up those. They were less expensive than they are here, so that was interesting. And then these Stabilo pens. I kept seeing these Stabilo highlighters. They're actually the highlighters, but they had these beautiful colors. And so first, at a shop in Venice, I kept passing them up because they're kind of bulky, and I just wasn't sure I needed to be focusing on that. I could get those maybe somewhere else. But I first picked these up because I, again, wanted these colors. There were so many buildings. There were these kind of peachy orange and yellow, beautiful colors. So I got these just to help me in my travel journaling. Then later in the trip, I picked up 2 more, this blue and this gray. And these are like just water-based markers. And then I was in an art store that was clearing these out, and they're these kind of, they call them layout markers, but they are water-based also. And they're just kind of interesting colors and fun for sketching with. So I picked those up as well. Actually, they threw in, I bought a few, and they threw in, since they were trying to get rid of them, they threw in some more for free. So I ended up with quite a few of these. And these, aren't those pretty? We'll have fun using those. I don't regret any of these. If anything, I regret that I didn't find a way to squeeze more art supplies in. But let's see, what should I go next? I guess next I went to a fabulous little art store in Florence and got these little watercolors that are made in Italy. They're Divolo brand, made in Italy, and I just thought those would be fun. The wrappers are pretty, and this, I tried to not open up too much of these because I didn't want them, you know, to get messed up or make a mess, either one, on the way home. But I did open the orange because I was needing an orange. I had this little palette, travel palette, Art Toolkit travel palette, which really was pretty sufficient for my whole trip. And I was pretty happy with the colors I'd selected to take. But I didn't take an orange because, you know, I have red and yellow. I could have made orange, but I was trying to do things so fast that just having this as a convenience color did prove to be handy. So I got those, and then I had planned to try. I've been wanting to do more playing with gouache. I do a fair bit with acrylic gouache, but I want to do a little bit more with, you know, traditional gouache, and so that was on my list to buy. So I also, the same Divolo Italian brand, which apparently is out of Florence, like made in Florence. So that was fun to get these, but I did not. I was afraid that if I opened them, I was itching to try them out, but I was afraid if I opened them, then by the time I flew home and everything, they would be, you know, trying to ooze out and make a mess and everything. So I used restraint. See, I'm already having trouble getting the lid back on. I haven't even opened it yet. So I'm excited to try these out today and get those opened up. And I just chose a few colors. I was impressed at the size of the tubes on these, and they weren't very expensive, 20 milliliters. And you know what I usually consider a big tube of gouache is like the 15 milliliter size, so considerably bigger. So that was fun. So anxious to try those. And then in Venice, I got this Winsor Newton, which is an Italian brand, but it's something that's also readily available. So I kind of steered clear of getting much Winsor Newton, but I did get this Venetian red while we were in Venice, and partly because I wanted it to paint buildings with there, but I also just thought that would be cool to have a Venetian red from Venice. So I got that, and then I also picked up later in another store these two gouache that are I think they're gouache. Are they? Yes, they're gouache. But they are like student grade. But I thought I'd try those out too. Have not tried those yet. So I add those to my collection. And then I also picked up some pencils. These were also in Venice, and these were you know, again, a German brand, but this chalk pencil this was a color that I saw so much of that I, picked it up. And then this was a 4B pencil, which I was wanting to, if I wanted to transfer an image, I could color on the back and transfer with this. So I got that. Also in that same Florence store, Rugacci, I got this paintbrush, also made in Italy, which I have not tried. I didn't really need a paintbrush, but I just thought I felt like I should get one while I was in Italy. And I also picked up this like more student grade Junior Synthetics. This one is made in Germany, but by the Da Vinci brand. So I got that. And I got these colored pencils. I just thought they were so pretty. We went out, this was like just before we left the last place we were staying before we flew home. And we were just walking out trying to find a place to eat, and came across, we didn't find a restaurant, but we did find 2 art stores. So this was kind of last minute purchase. I bought these. There's so many beautiful colors, but I thought these pastels were fun colors. And then they also had a rainbow pencil, which I always love me a rainbow pencil. So pick that up as well. Also, somewhere along the way, I had picked up this pencil extender, which was very inexpensive, but I had my little stubby colored pencils along, which worked well, but some of them are getting quite short, so I just picked this up to be a pencil extender. So got that one too. And see, so that I also got. I went to this fabulous store in Venice that had pigments, and it's beautiful. I went in not really expecting to get any. It's just such a beautiful display. I just had to go in and admire it. But actually they had all these pigments, very affordable, and they had them in these beautiful jars, and they were so tempting, so enticing, like different color sets in jars. But obviously the jars would be too heavy and too bulky to bring home, so I opted to buy them in these little bags, which I, still took a lot of room in my suitcase, but, I made the sacrifice. I actually got rid of, after I bought these, I left behind a pair of shoes, but that's okay. These are well worth it. Then I ordered jars and had them at home ready, so then I've been packaging them up into jars. I will talk more about these later, because I'll make another video of me using these to make some watercolors and gouache and just kind of experimenting with these. So I have several more colors, but I will talk more about those at another time. And then the final category that I picked up was paper and sketchbooks. And once I got these all together at home, it's like, that's why my suitcase was so heavy, because I had added all these in. And again, I kind of, got rid of some things as I went in order to have room for these. But I'm very happy to have all of them. I would not have given up any of these. It was worth carrying the extra weight. But here they are. So first I got this one because I knew I had taken this sketchbook with me to be a travel journal, and I knew by the time I was at this art store, I knew this wasn't going to last the whole trip, that I was going to fill it up. And indeed, this only lasted like the first half of the trip. So I knew I was going to need another sketchbook. And this wasn't exactly what I wanted, but it was an accordion fold. Well, I did want it, but I wasn't for sure if this would be adequate to do the whole rest of the trip. So I am going to save it for doing a specific scene, maybe from the trip. I'm not sure yet. But this is by Fabriano, made in Italy. And I haven't even opened it, don't know much about it. I am happy to have it. I just love, different sketchbooks and stuff. That's one of my weaknesses. And then I also later I found at the art store in Florence, I found these beautiful journals, and I got this with the same company. I couldn't decide between the two of these. This is, a landscape orientation, which I really thought was pretty. I like the cover. I like, it had this fun little string here to close. It just seemed more different, I guess, than, anything that I get around here. So I kind of wanted it, but I was not sure about continuing my travel journaling in that. So then I also got, it's the same company and the same paper, but it's just, a different orientation. So I got this for the last half of to do the journaling for the last half, which will also be a video coming later. And then I had seen these watercolor blocks, and they just are a little bit different than what I see, at least around here. They're 50% cotton, but I do like Fabriano watercolor paper, and I don't know if this is different than what the actual paper is different or not, but I just thought it was such a beautiful block. But I had only seen the big ones, so then when I saw this small size, I nabbed it. So looking forward to using that. And then towards the end of the trip, we were in Amalfi, which apparently is, they're very proud of their paper, their handmade watercolor paper. And so they had a lot of different papers there. So this is a watercolor block of paper made in Amalfi. The store owner, once he heard I was an artist, he insisted that I try out some of the paper samples, which was fun. It was fun to try those out and feel how they react. So I got this little watercolor block, and then I also got this handmade journal or sketchbook, watercolor book. It's watercolor paper, but it's hand bound, and the cover has been collaged, and I just loved it. So even though at that point I did not need another sketchbook, but I got it. So happy I did now. And then finally the paper thing that I picked up was, I realized that this watercolor book that I got to be the second half of the trip, I was actually going to fall just a little bit short of what I needed. And so I got, rather than start a whole nother journal, because I wanted, my trip to be contained together, I just bought some of this a pack of this watercolor paper that's the same size, and I can just do my extra pages and tuck them into here. So that's what I got. These are just loose sheets. So that's my haul, and very happy with what I got. There's a lot of things I would have loved to have more of. I would have loved to have gotten more watercolors and paint, more gouache. I guess those are the things I would have liked to get more of, is watercolor and gouache. But I was worried about space, and I did fill up my space. So very happy with these, and I'm looking forward to playing with them. So I kept this travel journal, or these two travel journals, and I'm pretty happy with what I've got done in there, and I'll be doing a tour here soon of my pages of both of these, probably two separate videos. But I do have some places here and there where I got the sketching done, but I did not have time to, paint in. And so that's what I want to do today. I thought I'm not going to necessarily limit myself to my new supplies, but I am going to break those out and use them if I want to. So I invite you to join me as I play with painting these sketches that I made. Okay, voiceover Kayanne here. I have this little sketchbook that's the same paper. It's a alpha sketchbook by Stillman and Byrne, and since it has the same kind of paper as where I want to do my painting, I thought I'd just spend a little bit trying out these paints and products in it and see how they behave, since these are new to me. So I'm just going to speed things up, and we'll go from there. I'm thinking that I should be able to mainly use these new colors, because I do have, a blue and a red and a yellow here, plus a few other little colors. And so I'm going to try to limit myself to these as much as possible. But of course, if I need to pull something else in, I can. I'm making use of some pages here that we took some notes on. We were trying to figure out some places to go and train routes and all of that, and so we had taken some notes. And so rather than waste these little sketchbook pages, I'm going to use those to swatch out the gouache. It's also interesting to see how opaque they are. So I'm trying some, kind of straight from the tube, and then also some watered down. And you can see that these are quite opaque and pretty much cover up that the lettering, the writing on the page. I will say that the two that I was told were student grade are a little bit more transparent, a little less opaque, but even those, by mixing them with the other ones, turn into, pretty nice and opaque. I'm very happy with them. I'm pleased with the quality of these, and I think they're going to be super fun to play with. I am adding white, which I already had. I had used white gouache to mix with watercolor to create, whenever I wanted it, like a gouache effect. So now I'm using it to mix with these gouache to, alter the color a little bit. So these do mix together quite nice, and I'm able to, get a good variety of colors here, and I'm pretty happy with those. I'm also trying out the layering on the Neocolor II, those few new Neocolor II I got, and just seeing how they layer with the gouache, which they do fairly well once the gouache is good and dry. Where I had trouble was where the gouache was just still slightly wet. Now I'm opening up those little watercolor half pans. I'd already used the orange. I already know that I like it, but I'm going ahead and opening these other colors. I had trouble, deciding which colors, but these were ones that looked kind of intriguing or different maybe than what I had, or that I just liked the palette that they made together. So I am excited about trying those out. So kind of trying those by themselves and mixing them with the gouache. Trying out a little bit of layering here and mark making, and taking advantage of that gouache opaqueness. Now I'm being a little bit more watery with it and just kind of letting it all flow and blend together and see how it behaves that way. This is getting a little more to the look that I feel like I might want to have in my illustration and my travel journal. So trying to see how they behave together that way. So I'm pretty happy with how that looks and those colors, and I'm excited now to dive into my travel journal and see what I can do there. I've already sketched out these scenes in pencil, so I have a pretty good idea of what I want to end up with on these. I'm starting with these 3 little sketches on the left-hand side, and I'll kind of use those as warm-ups, I guess, for getting to the scene on the right-hand side that's a full page. using one of those Staedtler ballpoint pens that I got to go back in and add some detailing to these little scenes. It seems to work pretty well on top of the gouache and watercolor here, and is a easy way to add a little bit of details and a little bit more contrast on these. But I do decide to switch out for a Unipen fine line pen in a 0.1. So I'm reasonably happy with these, but I was a little tighter with them than I would like. So for this bigger piece, I have the goal of trying to be a little bit looser with my colors and have a little bit less of a like coloring book type look. To accomplish that, I'm going to try to let the colors blend together a little bit more. So I'm going to try to apply the next color while the first color is still wet. And a lot of the buildings were a little bit worn looking, and the effects of the water on them and the paint was not always perfect, and that was part of the charm and beauty to me, was a little bit of that aged look. So I'm hoping that I can capture a bit of that. So I'm adding some colors that maybe were not as apparent in the original scene, but will hopefully give me a little bit more of that look. And instead of using the black pen to add the lines and detail work, I'm using a colored pencil, so perhaps for a little bit softer look. Now I'm using one of those new Neocolor 2s that I got, just adding a little bit more soft detail with those. And I want to give like kind of the impression of some brickwork without being overly detailed with it. And I like that effect, so I'm taking colored pencils and going back and trying to loosen up, I guess, or add soft details to those first 3 illustrations I did as well. So then, since I'm terrible at leaving white space, I decided to add one more little illustration in here, which I kind of wish I wouldn't have, but I think I was just having so much fun playing with these materials, I just couldn't stop. So kept going a little too far, but that's okay. And then my final thing that I want to do is just add a little bit of journaling to the page. I put a date sticker for the date that we were there, and we'll add some journaling, and then I'll call it good. So there's my page finished up. Be watching for a full sketchbook tour coming soon, and thanks for watching. See you next time.